directors, that those who have substance, who can hold the genius, who can actually discipline the genius. Now, so that when people get to the organizations, by now, every citizen should be able to demand proper service from each public service organization. These things are already in place. But I think, as we rightly said here, perhaps it's the education that people are not coming out to say exactly how they are doing it and how and who is held responsible for it. A time was, I remember, when the driver vehicle license authority was always coming on the radio to explain things to them, how to change the ownership of vehicles and things, and the steps that you have to go through. Yes, it's the same thing in other public service organizations. So what we should be doing by now is to be more proactive in letting people know the services that we carry across. Now, when you look at the service charter itself, each step in the way to deliver a particular service has the face of an officer, because a particular officer carries some work to be done. And then there are time frames for the delivery of that particular service. So if you're going for a service and it's going to take you 2 working days to get it, and somebody delays it, and it takes 5 working days, it just behoves on the management to just look at the process and to identify that particular person who is the bottleneck. And then the necessary discipline will have to be carried out.
You've said it beautifully.
Yes.
You know, you've said it. Look, put yourself in a situation where, as a head of a unit, you find yourself walking on a broken line, whereas a colleague is walking on a solid line. On a solid line, you have an advantage over those walking on a broken line.
You're right.
How do you address this?
No, in fact, that's the more reason why you spoke about the bureaucracy.
Yes.
The bureaucracy runs on formal rules and regulations.
Yes.
So if you're walking on the broken line, you have to be brought back onto the solid line. And which means that supervision would have to be stronger.
Yes.
And people should realize that working, in fact, the mandate for why the organization has been set up is that we are there to deliver services to the public, because we are using the public purse in delivering that particular service. So not only do the citizens have to demand their rights, but I think it also devolves on us in the public services to ensure that we carry out that service. Now, when you carry out a service which is good, you have that job satisfaction. But some people go to work and they feel, well, this is a government's work, so I'll just take it easy. But that is not it. And that's the more reason why for each organization, we have a code of conduct. And the code of conduct specifies the behavioral needs of the people in the organization. So if people in the organization feel that they cannot go by those behavioral tendencies, the best thing for you to do is to find yourself out quietly. But you know, in bureaucracies, again, you cannot just say you are dismissing somebody without having what it calls for.
And that is the
ask yourself
another question again. In situations where some of these codes have not been reviewed over the years, and you're still hooking onto a dead code, I mean, people will still break away and then do things their own way.
Let me just here affirm that there are codes in place. And the last time the code was reviewed, especially for the civil service, was in 1999. There. And they are as current as they are. In fact, as at now, we even have Shrage also coming out with a code of conduct for public service officers. So these are codes that are in place. And they are part and parcel of the human resource function for any organization. What is imperative that what people should be doing now is to ensure that people within the organizations understand the code and imbibe the code. So it becomes part of the performance culture of our own selves. Now, we do argue about the Japanese having the culture, the Germans having the culture. It's because they've imbibed the culture. And that is as how Smith Graham did say here. We have to look at the culture. But, you know, we are faced now with a lot of demands, the dynamics of the society. So you cannot wait to now understand the culture before you begin to change it. It is not imperative on us that the demands of the public, they're becoming more vocal and demanding, so we must begin to change. The demands that technology is coming in, so people need to do things faster. The fact that the internet and all those things have come in, and then people now respond to what they're supposed to do. So the public services should also move in that direction. A lot of work is being done,
Okay.
but they are also laggards.
All right. Let me go for a break. When we come back after that break, we would also be looking at the president's, the just ended IEA debate. The president made an input as far as productivity is concerned. We will pick that one as well. So we will be back. Viewers, you are still with us. This is Single Spine, the issues. Today we are looking at the next phase of the single spine pay policy, linking pay and productivity. We will go in for this break. We would also take the inputs from the president as far as productivity is concerned. We will be back.
Just a quick follow-up. Do you think the single spine salary structure has been worth it? Because we spent billions of Ghana cedis on it, and as we speak, there are nurses on strike. So even though you are migrating people onto it, some elements of labor are not happy with how it's being done. Do you think the time, money, and effort spent on it has been worth it?
Very good question. As I gave you the figures, we have seen an exponential increase in our wage bill. That money is going into some people's pockets. It's going into the pockets of public sector workers. And so everybody has seen an exponential increase in their salaries. The quarrels are about, no, this person has come too close to me. I used to be farther away from him. Why has he come here? Why have you given this one market premium? You haven't given me. It's not about the quantum that has been added. And I know the tradition here is not to show people's pay slips and things because the spouse must not know exactly how much people are earning. But I do wish that workers would be bold and courageous and come and say, look, this is what I was earning before the single spine. This is what I'm earning now. You know, there's been an exponential increase. But the most important thing that we must think about is productivity. Our productivity in this country is low. And so to whom much is given, much is expected. Government has done its part. It was a very difficult policy to implement. As I speak, the remuneration on a monthly basis, we have to take that out first. We call it item 1. That one, you can't joke with it. Their salaries must be in the banks before you take out item 2 and 3 and the others for general services to the public. And so if the country is making that sacrifice in respect of trying to pay you well, I think that the public sector workers must also reciprocate by increasing their productivity and efficiency.
Thank you. We'll take
You are still with us. We are back from the just ended IEA debate. You heard the president talking about productivity. You heard the president also talking about the single spine policy that was implemented. And this program is live on GTV. We are also live across all the regional networks across Ghana. And so we are live on Radio Ghana and we are live on GTV. My guest in the studio, Chief Executive, Fairwages and Salaries Commission, Mr. Smith Graham, George Smith Graham, and Mr. Robertson. Ni Akwe Alote is a commissioner, Public Services Commission. We will pick your phone calls. I know you have concerns. I know you have suggestions. I know you have questions. We will announce the phone line for you. Fortunately for us today, we have a landline. You can rely on that. 0302-773240. I know it will be rolling on your screen. 0302-773240. You can also rely on our text line facility 0509-079208. You can send us your text messages. We will talk about them on this platform. Mr. Graham talked about education and training, and I guess this has got to done in-house. What provisions have you put in place, Public Service Commission?
Thank you. Again, when I spoke about the performance management system and the tools that have been put in place, naturally, when you are carrying out work in your organization, you might have gaps coming in as a result of the fact that you have low skills or what it's supposed to be. Now, as part of the assessment tool, is that the supervisor notices that perhaps there's a gap in somebody's skill, and therefore he notes it there that that gap needs to be filled. That is through training.
Yeah.
So that is identified. So during the next budget of the organization, that is factored in, and that particular officer is sent off for training, either in-house or wherever he has to go for training. So that builds the capacity of the entire organization. Apart from that, there are other institutions. In fact, almost every organization has training needs that they've done, and therefore they have the training plans for their various workers. And that is important that this is carried out. What we've not done is that quite often the training budget is always the one which is cut because they have to look at other things, meeting other targets and things. So
is training
very
more important?
often, training is critical for improved performance in any organization.
Yeah.
So perhaps the priority should be on training and developing the skills that we need. Now, we're not talking about going for a master's degree, but what we're talking here is giving you the skills and competencies which are very important for you to be able to meet the work that you are performing. And that is critical for us.
Now, Mr. Graham, you have highlighted your role as far as this exercise is concerned. I've always enjoyed using GBC as an example. So let me use my organization as an example. What specifically would you be doing if you want to look at this very exercise, linking pay and productivity? I've just been informed that we have a caller on the line. Let's go for that call and then I'll throw that question to you. Hello?
Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Shedem and I'm calling from La Paz.
La Paz, thank you.
I would like the gentleman in the right side to explain to me the functions of the Fairwages and Salary Commission taking the place. I would be very glad.
Okay. Well, it looks like he has not been following us for some time now, but he wants you to explain to him briefly the functions of the Fairwages and Salaries Commission.
Thank you very much. The Fairwages and Salaries Commission, as we know, was established by an Act of Parliament. And our objective or our functions basically is to ensure the smooth implementation of government's pay policy, ensure that the grading structures that exist in the public sector are right, ensure that we are able to link pay to productivity, ensure that everything with regards to salaries, classifications, negotiations on behalf of government is also done. Any negotiation that the benefit will be taken from the consolidated fund, the negotiation is supposed to be done by us, Fairwages and Salaries Commission. And so these are some of the functions of the commission. Okay. But having said that, I will go on to the earlier questions that you asked, and I'll come back to the IEA debate. I think we need to put the issues just right. The public service recruitment. I mean, recruitment into the public service is even problematic. People look for jobs all over the place. They don't get the jobs. And so heads will be there, and somebody will call them, this is my nephew or my niece. I'm looking for a job all over the place. I don't get them. Everybody looks at the private sector. When they don't get a job, then they use the public sector as a last resort. And so you get people putting pressure on you to recruit their nieces and nephews and all that. Now, when that is done and they come into the organization.
Hold on for me. Let me pick a call. I'm sorry I'm disturbing your thought process. Hello, tell us your name and where you're calling from.
Hello, I'm Osei, calling from Koforidua. I'm a prison officer.
Oh, Osei from Koforidua, prison officer. Okay, let's hear you, Osei.
My problem is that I wonder why some of the security service, police and Ghana Army, they have been paying their allowance to them, and we prison officers, they have left us just like that. They don't want to pay our allowance to them. That's my problem.
Okay, I understand. I understand it's a problem. This is not what we're discussing today, but all the same, we will address your concern, Mr. Graham.
Okay,
why haven't you paid? Why haven't you insisted that they are paid the allowances?
It will be done.
Okay.
We recognize that the prisons, immigration, and then the fire service, these three institutions, we need to do something with regards to the allowances. but we wanted to do it along the lines of the general allowances that we are tackling. Because
what is it that you have?
There are certain basic allowances that they should have enjoyed. You know, when it comes to the allowances in the security services, because of the operational nature of the work and the way they do their assignment, there were some allowance that we gave to them, like the operational allowance, because of the operations that they go. Because we had to abolish their risk, and all those things had to be abolished. So having done that, when we came to the Ghana Armed Forces and the police service, they were already enjoying that, so it was easy for us to implement it for them. But some of the security services, they were not enjoying it. Yeah. So when we were implementing, I think we skipped that, and it has come to our notice. We will address those ones very soon.
So you can go back to your point now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what I'm saying is that when we have done that, and the person comes into the organization using such backdoors to get recruitment into the organization, and comes into the public service where the structures and the competence and other things are also not very clear, then it becomes a very difficult thing to manage the performance of such people. I can say that bureaucracy should not take away creativity of anybody. Bureaucracy is supposed to ensure that things are properly documented, things are done properly, so that in future it can be referred to, because we are working for the public service. Yeah. That's what bureaucracy is supposed to do. It should not necessarily take away the creativity of anybody. You go to the public service and you get some people working in the public service, extremely competent, who can fit in any private organization, any international organization, and we also have those who are also there and not working as expected, because the supervision, as has been mentioned here, is weak. I have been agitating that for us as chief executives and even those at the top hierarchy, I believe that it should be on contract.
Time will not allow us, but briefly, what timelines are we looking at? I mean, in terms of the rollout and all.
The performance management rollout, I think next year we'll start internal, but it must be understood that it will take a very long time to internalize, because it's a very serious thing that has to be done, and a lot of education has to be done. We are only praying that when the time comes, we will not be starved of resources, because it takes a lot to be able to do things of this nature. And it's our prayer that, because once you starve the institutions of resources to be able to do the necessary education and all that, then you realize that its implementation will be a challenge.
It's unfortunate time has always been an enemy, but you couldn't answer my GBC question. But all the same, I would pray that next week we will have to go deep into this and maybe pick it up from where we ended today, so that we can
provided next week you will not be discussing politics and the results.
I appreciate I mean, how we can link pay to productivity, because I know that high performance organizations are always directly or linked to pay and productivity. And so it's important.
High performance linked to
motivation, yes,
sanctions, and rewards.
Thank you very much, Mr. Robertson Ni Akwe Alote, Commissioner, Public Services Commission, and Mr. Smith Graham is the Chief Executive, Fairwages and Salaries Commission. Thank you so much. And viewers, keep watching GTV, make a deal with us. We all hope that we'll go to the polls and then cast our votes and go home peacefully. Peaceful Ghana is what we are asking for. Thank you so much.